Hi everyone, it's Brett. An advertisement about water? Not interested. A Nintendo Direct getting announced? Well, I'm marking my calendar for that. A Nintendo Direct is a pre-made video presentation created by Nintendo that focuses on Nintendo news and games. These are the kind of advertisements that can be exciting, the hype generated from one being announced, the build-up and speculation of what could be revealed, and of course, watching the Nintendo Direct live to see all the awesome reveals. Nintendo Directs do an excellent job of making games enticing. Having them be streamed live is cool as well. It's an awesome experience to be seeing new stuff be revealed for the first time live. Nintendo Directs are fun, but what were they like when they first started? To answer that question, I'll have to go back to the oldest Nintendo Direct. The first Nintendo Direct took place on October 21st, 2011. This one was a lot different to how Nintendo Directs are today. Most of the big Nintendo games shown in the first Direct, like Super Mario 3D Land and The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, had already been announced at other events. Also, some of the stuff talked about wasn't even video game related. They didn't even have a cool little animation or anything at the beginning. But at least the first Direct had a host, which is common in newer Directs. That host was Reggie, who was president of Nintendo of America at the time, and there's nothing wrong with having him be in this Direct. Looking back at the first Direct, it definitely seems like the first one. The pacing is just kind of slow. Also, it's interesting to see a Nintendo Direct not have a big reveal for a first-party game, but it makes sense. This was Nintendo's first rodeo, so I think they were still trying to figure out what they wanted to do with Directs. The first Nintendo Direct is neat and sort of fun to watch. The other early Directs that came after are fun to watch as well. Although these older Directs show their age, they're a cool novelty. I'd say the overall idea of the Nintendo Direct was successful because over a decade later, Nintendo is still using the format. There would be a lot of Nintendo Directs in their beginning years. There were charming moments in these Directs sometimes, and plenty of new games were shown and talked about in these Directs too. There would happen to be a change for Nintendo Directs in July of 2015 when Satoru Iwata unfortunately passed. Satoru Iwata had been a big part of Nintendo Directs and was in fact the person who came up with the idea of the Nintendo Direct. He was a big reason for what made Nintendo Directs so charming. He was also just so genuine in these presentations. Nintendo Directs wouldn't quite be the same without Satoru Iwata, and his passing put Nintendo Directs in a tough place during 2015 and 2016. Nintendo Directs didn't happen as much during that time. However, Nintendo Directs would get back into the flow when the Nintendo Switch came out in 2017. There would be a bunch of Nintendo Directs in the starting years of the Nintendo Switch, and the amount of Directs that have been made in total is quite large. Over the years, some older and newer Nintendo Directs have been pretty great. There had been some pretty cool games shown throughout plenty of Nintendo Directs. Also, Super Smash Bros. Character reveals are cool as well. There were plenty of awesome reveals that made for great Directs. Even having gameplay shown for games that had already been announced at an earlier time still made Nintendo Directs exciting. There was some pretty amazing Directs in the past, but Nintendo Directs aren't great every time. And this can lead to disappointment. A lot of this disappointment does come down to personal opinion though. But overall, Nintendo Directs are going to have the possibility of having some disappointing moments. Nintendo Directs are cursed and blessed at the same time. A lot of people want to watch them, but if they don't have what people want, Directs can be quite a negative thing for Nintendo's image. Nintendo Directs aren't always going to be great, but a lot of the times they're very fun to watch. The fact that Nintendo Directs are fun to watch is impressive because these are basically just one big commercial. Throughout the existence of Nintendo Directs, there also became more kinds of them. There are around 3 main types. You have the standard full-size Nintendo Direct. These are the main kinds, and this is pretty much where all the massive games are announced. By no surprise, these are the ones that make Nintendo Directs the big events they're known for. Another type of Nintendo Direct is the Nintendo Direct Mini. Mini Directs are of course shorter than standard Nintendo Directs. Mini Directs just have less stuff to show, but there can still be good games in these Directs. There are Mini Directs that just focus on third-party games, which is fine, but it doesn't really feel like a Direct at that point if it's not showing off Nintendo-made games. I think it's nice to have Nintendo Direct Minis, so when they're announced ahead of time, people will already know there won't be as much stuff to show compared to a standard Direct. Mini Directs keep expectations low, so that way I know ahead of time that I'll most likely be disappointed. There is another type of Direct. This kind focuses on just one game. They're called, well, whatever the game is called. There's been Super Smash Bros. Directs, Animal Crossing Directs, and Pokemon Directs, to name a few. These are great when games have a lot of stuff to show, and that means they shouldn't take up a whole lot of room in an upcoming main direct. Well, those are all the main types of Nintendo Directs. I personally mostly look forward to the large-scale Nintendo Directs, unless if it's a direct focus on Super Mario Maker 2. Nintendo Directs have improved a lot throughout their existence. They now have faster pacing, better editing, and cool trailers for games shown. So Nintendo Directs have definitely gotten much better and are really great video game presentations. Although video game presentations aren't a new concept, there have been live in-person presentations done by Nintendo. But those could have slow pacing, be awkward, and have technical problems. Nintendo Directs really captured what was great about those kind of presentations while getting rid of all the technical problems and awkward moments of showing off a game live on stage. I think that Nintendo Directs really nail how to do a live stream presentation. So overall, Nintendo Directs are pretty neat and are always going to be more interesting than advertisements about water. Never mind, where's my calendar?